Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly Friday Ask Me Any stock session. Today we are looking at the US market, guys. Some of you have already joined us early. Thank you so much for being early, guys. If you guys can see and hear me loud and clear, you can see our screen as well. They're showing my slides. Just type a GM for good morning. Let me just acknowledge all of you for being early. Welcome, guys. I think let's see, we have Jay. Hi, Jay. To over here. Hi, good to see you here as well. Let's see, we have Yakmin as well. Joey Choy, please cover Alibaba. All right, let's see. We can do that later as well. All right. So just type GM for good morning, guys. If you can see and hear me loud and clear before we get started today on the US market. All right. Let's see who are our familiar, faces. Every Friday you will join us. David, good to see you as well. Hi, Colleen. Hi, John. Good morning. Good morning, Chi-Sing. Oh, Chi-Sing, you are here every single Friday. Thank you so much, Chi-Sing. I think we have covered some of your stocks. Today, we'll try to cover yours as well, Chi-Sing. Let's see. We have Jimmy, good morning as well. Serene, Lawrence, good morning. Good morning. Okay, good. So this seems like it's working right now. We are live on YouTube and also on Facebook, right? So welcome to this live session, guys, whereby we do it every Friday. On last Friday, I was on holiday, all right, and my team, Bervin and Z, covered the Singapore market or the Singapore stocks that you guys requested as well. But today will be US, all right? Today will be US. Next Friday, back to Singapore again. So we are doing alternate, all right? For those of you who are new, essentially we're doing alternate US, Singapore, all right? And how it works is that we'll do a quick market outlook later. We'll look at the Dow Jones, maybe the S&P 500 index to see what has happened, what are some of the news that have came out over the past 1 to 2 weeks. Are we seeing weakness? Is it time to get in and all that? That's what we'll cover. And of course, we will dive into the very exciting part that all of you are here for, right? Pretty much covering the US stocks that you want a quick opinion on. So that's where you can type in the chat, all right? We are going to star it and put a note on it, and we try to cover that one that's most often asked. A lot of people ask about it. We'll just put more priority on that as well. And what happens is that later, right, when you ask the stocks, just give us a bit of context. I think we'll give you a bit more priority if you give a bit more context on the US stock, whether is it like Microsoft or any stock, right, Apple or whatever. Give a bit of context so that when we go ahead to give you a quick opinion, we understand, like, are you thinking about buying? Are you thinking about selling? If we have bought it 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 1 year ago, what is the context? So at least we more or less know. All right, I think that would be much more helpful as well. All right, and at the end there'll be 3 bonus US stocks that will be shared as well. One stock from each of us, the 3 of us over here today. So essentially 3 bonus stocks that we like. You'll put in your watch list. We may have covered them previously in a couple of weeks back. They still look good. You want to watch them as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And would it be okay, guys, if you help me to like and share? Help me to just click on the like and share button, show some love. All right, click the like and share button so that we can reach out to more people. All right, and more people can join us in this weekly live AMAS session, whereby we can give value to all of you. Just help us to take a like and share. Of course, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel as well, go ahead and hit subscribe so that when we go live, you will be alerted as well. All right, so hit the like and share button. Hit the like and share button. Thank you so much. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's move on right now. And essentially, guys, I want to share with you guys, my team, right? And of course, for those of you who first time seeing me as well, my name is Joey. All right, Joey Choy, top tier reminder trader in Philips Securities. I've been doing this for more than a decade. I conduct trainings as well, courses to teach people about my one good trend strategy. All right, and also how I have an indicator called the 1GT Pro indicator that gives me an opinion, or gives my graduates, my students, an opinion in seconds based on the bullish and bearish signal. So I've been doing this for quite a while, right? A broker, top tier reminder trader, and I have my team here as well with me. Let me just go ahead to introduce my team, right? So Bervin is here with me, joining me for more than 4 to 5 years now, one of the top brokers under me in Philips Securities, conducting our Ask Me Any Stocks group coaching, like what you see over here, conducting our mentorship group coaching session as well, one-on-one, assisting our portfolio manager with the portfolio as well, right? So, and Bervin is also what we a CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst, right? Those of you who are in the banking or financial space, this is one of the highest qualification that one can get, right? So Bervin, maybe just say a few words, right, to introduce yourself.
Hi. Thanks, Joey, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our weekly Ask Me Any Stock. This week, like Joey have said, we are doing the US market. I think the US market has been rather volatile, as you can see, for the past few weeks. So I think today's session, I think, will be very fruitful one for everybody to just stay all the way to the end, where we review some of those stocks that continue to do well or have rebounded during this volatile period as well. Yeah. So I think if you are here for more than the first time, I think you will realize that I think we will go through very quickly those stocks that I think are on your portfolio, give you a little bit of an opinion on what we think, on where the stock is going. So I think this should help you quite a lot during this period as well. So stay tuned all the way to the end. All right. Okay. Thanks. I think I'll pass the time to Z or Joey.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Bervin. So let me go to introduce another one of my teammates, Z. All right, Z has been with me for more than 4 to 5 years now. One of the top brokers under me in Philips Securities as well, conducting our group coaching sessions, assisting our portfolio manager as well. And Z is also what we call a CMT, all right, Chartered Market Technician. If you're talking about anything charting, anything technical analysis, indicators, patterns, candlestick, whatever, all right, Z is the expert. Z is the go-to person. Of course, she and Bervin as well, they are both experts and very well versed on the one good trend strategy and the one GT Pro indicator. So, Z is pretty much the go-to person, right? So, Z, maybe just say a few things today.
All right, thanks Joey for the introduction. Good to have Joey back. I think the full crew is actually back today, right? Because last week, I think Joey is on leave. And then, for those of you who have joined us last week, Bervin and myself, we have to introduce ourselves. So it's good to have Joey coming back to introduce us today, right? So yeah, for those who have just joined us for the very first time, my name is Z. And one thing that maybe to share about myself is that I really like breaking things down from very complex to become something simple, right? Especially when it comes to trading. So later on, you will see how Joey's one GT Pro indicator can actually help to make your trading journey, especially during analysis, looking at candles, looking at the charts, right? How to make it simpler for yourself and make it less intimidating, right? So that's all from me. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to actually kickstart today's session.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Z. So let's get started right now. Just a quick disclaimer, guys, as we always do every single session as well. Whatever they shared today is just for education purposes only. All right, please do your own due diligence. It's not to ask you to buy or sell any stock, or not to buy or not to sell. All right, it's just for education purpose. All right, so please do a little bit of homework as well. All right, so yep, that's it. Let's go ahead and get started right now, and let's go into the markets right now. So this is the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones right over here. We have covered it about 2 weeks back, and let's take a look at the markets right now. So you can see this is Dow Jones 42,299. So I mentioned that for the Dow Jones, right, we actually have been in a pretty good longer term uptrend. I would say since about 2 years back, or 1-2 years back. You can see the 100 days moving average, the red line, and the blue line. All right, they have been sloping upwards, red above the blue, both sloping up. Right now, if you ask me, I would say that the longer term trend is still up for now. All right, but of course, in the short term, we can see weakness as well. Look at this right over here, right? The 20 days moving average line started to point down. That was in 2023 August. The 20 days moving average line started to point down. So when we look at the short term trend, we actually focus on the green 20 days simple moving average line. So same thing over here. All right, that was in December last year. The green 20 days moving average line point down. The short term trend turned down over the past 1 month. Okay, let me talk about some of the factors I think all of you would know as well, right? Some of the factors affecting the market. Why are we seeing one of the worst months since February and March, right? Over the past year, well, essentially, I think all of you would have followed the news. Donald Trump has introduced what we call tariffs on Mexico, Canada, even China. There was some reciprocal tariffs that were introduced as well by Canada as well. And I think just yesterday, right, he announced 25% tariffs on automakers. All right, pretty much any automakers that is not in the US. All right, so this is kind of like creating a lot of uncertainty in the market, right? Because other countries might actually retaliate as well and introduce tariffs. I think China has done that as well. And we have kind of like sold off. And because of these tariffs, they are now what we call recession fears as well. All right, the market started to sell off about 1 or 2 weeks back quite heavily due to recession fears. All right, so this is some of the news that been affecting the market. And you can see that in the short term, over the past 3 weeks, same thing, right? This line right over here, you can take and put it over here. You can see, right, we pretty much have sold down in the short term as well. In fact, went down a little bit more. So if you ask me right now, well, we're not completely out of the woods yet. I would say the short-term trend is still down. As you can see, the 20 days moving average line is kind of still sloping down, right? So the longer-term trend is up, fine, no problem. But unfortunately, the short-term trend is still down, all right? It's still down. So let's take a look at some of the key levels. I would say the Dow Jones, the 45,000. I've talked about it 2 weeks back. It is the same level, 45,000. That's where we touched, came down. I think that is pretty much the major resistance level for now. If we stay below it, we pretty much will be kind of like sideways or just consolidating, all right? But let's talk about this very good support that seems to have came out over the past 2 weeks. And that would be somewhere around the 41,000. So I've drawn about 40,000. So 40,000 to 41,000. Okay, let me just put one line at 40,000. I think 40,000 would be a psychological level, but doesn't mean you put 40,000 means you go to 40,000, right? But anything near 40,000 or maybe even 41, like we've seen over the past 2 weeks, right? It seems like some bargain hunting is starting to come back right over here, right? Got a pretty good bullish candle coming out, a bearish one, next day a bullish one. We went above the high of the previous bearish day, and we started to see a bit of a rebound. So some form of support coming in, just around the 41,000, right? But we're not out of the woods. Why? Because the green 20 days moving average line is still sloping down. But if we were to consolidate above 41,000 right now, right? I don't know, maybe like next week or next week, we stay above that 41,000 or 42,000. Well, this green line will eventually, it will not continue to point down, right? It will, it will start to flatten out because the support has been found, and it will start to maybe flatten out, and maybe do see kind of like a reversal, something like this, right? When we see a reversal back up, right? Something like this, or maybe something like this, right? Down, up, or something like this, right? Down, up, right? Yes, that would be another confirmation that the short-term trend now has also started to turn up, right? That would be a confirmation. And if I can quickly show you guys, based on my one good trend strategy. So we use what we call the one good trend strategy. More than a decade, I've been using this, and pretty much, in a nutshell, it allows us to write stocks that are aligned with the trend, not just in the long term, but also the short term, where we have few confirmations that we look up for as well. So you can see right over here, the one good trend pro indicator. I can quickly turn on the buy and sell signals. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, click. There we go, right? So any asset classes, this is the Dow Jones Index, right? Dow Jones Industrial Average Index. You can turn it on stocks, US stocks, Hong Kong stocks, Singapore stocks, Apple, DBS or whatever, right? Bitcoin, any asset classes, it gives you an opinion in seconds, right? Look at this, right? So I just turn it on and let's take a look at what it says, right? So you can see that we have a couple of bullish signals since August, up, a bearish one means not so good. You can see it starts coming down, a bullish one go up. And of course, the most recent one would be a bearish signal, the 1GT bearish signal that came out, not last week or last 2 weeks, but I think last month on 27th of February. Today is 28th of March, right? So about 1 month back, 1 month back it came out. You see it started to hit down, down. And is there a new bullish signal coming out? Well, haven't yet, right? Look at this. This is a bullish signal. This is a bullish signal. So when we see a bullish signal coming out, the green 20 days moving average line pointing up, or that would be like 2 confirmations that could lead that reversal. So it remains to be seen exactly when. It could be next week. It could be next week. My take is that, if we stabilize above the 41,000 to 42,000, still quite okay, right? Hopefully that reversal bullish signal will come. All right, so this is the Dow Jones. Very quickly, I'll just move on to the S&P 500 index that looks quite similar. So the S&P 500 index, one of the most popular index that tracks the top 500 companies in the US. All right, and if you want to take a position in like the entire market, right, you can actually buy and sell what we call the S&P 500 ETF. All right, and what's the code for that? The code is SPY. All right, SPY. Go check it out. Right, and that's like you want to take a position on the entire market. Then you can just buy the SPY, the ETF, right? So you can see very quickly, longer term trend is up. Look at the red and the blue line, pretty much in a very strong longer term uptrend. Of course, in the short term, we saw selling, bearish signals, selling, bearish signal, selling, all right? And let's just zoom into where we were over the past 1-2 months. Well, we got not one, but we got 2 bearish signals that have came out, all right, over the past 1 month. And did we hit down? Yes, we started to hit down, all right? What about now? What about the short-term trend? Look at the green 20 days moving average. Like, unfortunately, still sloping down slightly. All right, sloping down slightly. Maybe not as aggressive as it was about 2 weeks back, but still slightly sloping down, right? But let's take a look at this support level that came out for the entire S&P 500 index. Well, I think that would be the psychological 5,500, right? That's where we rebounded as well, all right? So let it stabilize above 5,500 to 5,600. If we stabilize above it, the green line starts to flatten out. If we get a new bullish signal, great. That is where we could start to see a potential reversal, all right, maybe all the way back to 6,002 to retest the previous high we've seen over the past 2 to 3 months. All right, so this is the S&P 500 index. So if you want to find a bit more, guys, I mean, of the entire one good trend strategy today, right, is the AMAS. Ask me any US stock session. So we do have time to cover the whole strategy or how the indicator works and all the features of the indicator, all right? Maybe we'll just touch on it very briefly, but if you want to find out in depth, all right, attend one of those free webinars that I'm still running. We have one probably next week. I'll just place the link in the chat, all right? Click on the link, all right? Register for it, and this way we will dive more in depth into the strategy part. Today, no time. Today is just pretty much your stocks, next, and we just go around robin very quickly and give you a quick opinion, all right? Okay, so that is pretty much the markets. Let me go ahead to dive into the US stocks. So I think some of you have really typed in the US stocks that you want a quick opinion on, all right? So let me just go to choose one. So how it works is this, right? We're going to go through one by one. So I'll go first, then I'll pass on the mic to Bervin, and then Z will pass, then Bervin will pass to Z, and then Z will pass it back to me. So each of us will cover one. And at the end of the live call, all right, very simple, we will each share one US stock. So make sure you stay all the way to the end, All right, you're going to get our top stocks that you want to put in your watch list as well. All right, so how many of you are ready to get started? Just type R for ready, and also type the US stocks that you want. Let me just go through very quickly right now before I cover one of it. All right, let me go through it. Okay, Tesla, Qiseng. Why not? I'll just cover Qiseng stock right over here. Qiseng, let me go to show your comment right over here. Okay, so Qiseng, Tesla. I missed selling at 400 plus. Should I hold? Any chance it will hit the previous high with Trump auto tariffs? So let's go to put Tesla, right? Tesla, TESLA. Where is it? Let's go. Pump. Okay, let's take a look at it. Let's see. So this is Tesla right here. So you can see, okay, let me just turn off the 1GT Pro indicator, all right, in terms of the signal. So as I say, right, any asset classes, off it, gone. On it, it turns on, right? You get an opinion in seconds. So if you see a bearish signal yesterday or last week, then I think don't go and buy lah. I mean, be a bit more careful lah, right? So look at this right over here. I've turned it on. And for Tesla, so Qiseng, you mentioned that you missed selling it at around 400. Well, actually, that would be a very, very good price because you see, right? We got a bearish signal. So I'm not too sure where you bought it, right? But if you have bought it over here, I mean, we've got 2 bullish signals in October. Not one, but 2 bullish signals right over here. The green 20 days moving average line point up, all the way up. I would say from here to here, that would be about 76%. So by right, should have take some profit already because we got a bearish signal and the green 20 days moving average line was going up, started to flatten out. It means a bit of resistance that came back, which is still okay, but it starts to point down. All right, point down. Is it still pointing down? Let's take a look. I think still pointing down a little bit, all right, a little bit, but not as much, but a little bit. Okay, so I would say that by right would have wanted to get out. I mean, if you see a bearish signal, all right, and for Tesla, all right, I think it was a bit of a rebound over the past few because, when Donald Trump introduced these auto tariffs, I think some people are saying that it could benefit Tesla because it is kind of like a manufacturer in the US as well, kind of like a bit of protection in that sense, all right? So we certainly see a bit of strength in Tesla, all right? But let's take a look at it right now and see if there are any chances of it rebounding, any chance it will hit the previous high with Trump auto tariffs. So any chance of it reversing upwards back to maybe the 400 to 480 level, right? Let's take a look. So I'll go to draw this resistance at about 480. Maybe we can draw this support level coming out just around the 200, right? I think 200 would be a very good psychological support level. That was where we held here, rebounded, rebound. Of course, from here, we started to push up, right? So let's put it here. So the question is this, right? Are we seeing any new bullish signal coming out? Well, not yet. If I can quickly turn on what we call the trailing support, let me just turn it on. You can see, right? So when these 2 bullish signals came out in October, we have this trailing support that came out. So this trailing support is this line right there, up, flat, follow. So a trailing support follows a stock as it moves up. It gives it what we call breathing space to hopefully move up more. So if you're above it, you're okay, all right? You're okay, right? Because we account for the volatility. You should stay above it if you're good, all right? So you can see right over here, we stayed above it. But one fine day when this bearish signal came out, why did it come out? Well, we broke below the trailing support line. So you're supposed to stay above it, right? Because we give you space, and we account for the volatility. If you are good to go, your uptrend is intact, you should stay above it. So we went below it, not so good. That's where a bearish signal pop out. Then now it's the opposite. We got a trailing resistance, right? Trailing resistance that follow as it goes down, right? So since like January, about 3 months ago, it starts going down, flat, down, flat. Now it's opposite, follow as it goes down. And let's take a look, right? You can see right now the trailing resistance is right over here, right over here. So we are very near the trailing resistance, which is what price? I would say around the 295, right? 295, maybe 300 to 295. So we are looking a little bit more bullish. I mean, the fact is that we are nearing the trailing resistance, right? But the question is this, right? Have we gone above it? All right, have we gone above? Because this trailing resistance is the opposite, right? It gives it space to move, to go lower and lower, all right? And if you're below it, not good. But if you were to go above it, great, all right? If you go above it, maybe like above 295 or above 300 as another confirmation, I think that would be a very good, we will get a bullish signal. And of course, if the green 20 days moving average line started to point back up again as another confirmation, like what we see over here, all right, that would be, I think, kind of like a good reversal indication that we could be starting to see a bit of strength, maybe all the way back up to 380, 400, or maybe to 480 level as well. All right, so not yet. I mean, we'll see whether it can lift off the 295 or 300 level. So Chi Seng, I hope that helps. But very good. Thank you, Chi Seng, for giving us a little bit of context. You missed selling it and then you have bought previously. And any chance for it moving up, so a bit of context, so we are able to understand, and I'll be able to analyze a little bit for you even better. All right, so this is Tesla. Okay, so very good. Thank you so much, Chi Seng. So let me pass on the mic back to Bervin to cover the next US stock. All right, Bervin, back to you.
Thanks, Joey. Okay, I think that was Tesla. I think one of those stocks that a lot of people are actually watching. I think I want to cover one other stock that I think a lot of people have been asking us about as well. I think Jimmy is asking, can Palantir can still hold, or maybe is it time to sell or anything like that? Okay, on my screen here we have Palantir. All right, Jimmy. Okay, we actually saw that it actually sold down from that high of 125. 125 was the previous high. Prices actually headed downwards after we have that. At the same time, we have that 1 GT bearish signal that came in. And we look like we found a little bit of a support around the $80 psychological level. All right, where you can see that the 100 days and 200 days moving average are still sloping up, and the 100 days moving average is intersecting or is coming close to that support level. So this is a level where perhaps some buyers could come in, looking to do a bit of bargain hunting for Palantir. But we hold, I think it is a bit hard to say right now. But we have some good confirmation signals. We have some good confirmation signals where we can see that this 20 days moving average previously, was pointing down. It was pointing down, and then I think in the recent week, it had started to slope upwards a little bit, just a little bit. But we have also found like a temporary resistance, all right, around that $100 level. The $100 psychological level has formed like a resistance, and we have seen sellers actually coming back 3 days ago close to this level. So I think we may see a little bit of a whipsaw going on, or a little bit of a consolidation pattern going on, where prices may just hover within these two levels. Will it break up, break down? I think no one can tell you at this point. I think it's still very, very volatile. It's still a very volatile stock. But I think what you got to be a bit more careful about is if this 80 level gives way, or this $80 support level starts to give way, where could the next downside be, or where would the downside be towards? I think the $60 level would be at the next support level. The $60, okay, I think my screen is okay now. Okay, I think the $60 level is right where the next support will be, where if this $80 level breaks down, we could see another 20% downside towards that $60 level. However, if this $100 level were to give way, so like the price pattern could be prices finally hit up towards, consolidate under that $100 level, and finally break above it again, may see it head back to that 125 105 level. But as of right now, because we are still trading under that trailing resistance right here, you see that the trailing resistance is about that 105 level. If the prices were to hit higher, break above this trailing resistance, we may see, or we will see, that 1GT bullish signal coming in, a sign of that strength or that buying momentum coming back into this counter as well. So I think if you are holding on to Palantir, I think the key level to take note, or some key alerts you want to set, would be an alert above that $100 level. So just to right click, send alert crossing that 101, 102 level, I think will be a clear sign that that $100 level finally gives way again. Then receive some alerts again, then I think you can shift your stop limit orders up, to protect those profits, or to also take some profits, slightly under that $100 level if you have been holding as well. So I think as of the nearer term, I think could expect a little bit more consolidation, but I think in the longer term, it looks like that longer term trend is still holding up. So perhaps I think this is the few key points you have to take note for Palantir, but otherwise, I think still not too bad at this point. All right, okay, so that is just a quick one for Palantir. Maybe Z, I can pass the time to you for the next stock.
All right, thanks, Mervin. Okay, so the next stock that I will be covering, right, is this question from Lawrence. So Lawrence is actually asking, thinking of buying AVGO, seeking your thoughts. So let's take a look at AVGO, right? Because I believe yesterday there was some price action that actually happened, right? And then some people might think that it could be a very attractive price to actually get in. But let's talk about it, right? Okay, let's talk about it. So for AVGO, we can see that, from 2024 all the way onwards, when it started, right, the year, it was quite decent, right, in terms of the trend, because it was going up, and it kind of like went sideways a bit, went up, consolidate higher, right, and prices actually break above the consolidation, rally all the way up to this 250, and then this is where we saw some short-term weakness coming back, because this is where we actually see the 20 days moving average starts to actually have a bit of sideways movement, and then it started to point out and break below the longer term moving average, right? And this is where we are at currently, which is yesterday price was closed at about 171, right, 0.99, 171.99. But over here we can clearly see that this 180, right, this level right over here, this 180 right over here, was actually one of the resistance turned into a support level, right over here, because here somewhere in June, in 2024, as well as October all the way to November, right over here, and right here as well in December, this was where price was kept below, right, this 180. So this 180 was also acting as like a psychological resistance back in 2024, from June all the way to December, before earnings actually came out, price get all the way up and rally to 250, right? So this 180 is a psychological resistance turned into a support once price gap out, right? And over the past month, right, since March, February and March, this is where we saw, selling pressure came back in, price came back down to actually retest this 180. But as of yesterday, right, we actually saw this 180 level being broken, right? Price actually opened even below the 180 and closed even lower, right? And it actually closed at 171. And at this point in time, if we look at the moving averages, right, the short-term moving averages, I mean, of course, right now, the green line, if we just focus on the green line right over here, it doesn't look that great, right? It doesn't look that great because it is still pointing down. There is still no signs of it, kind of like stabilizing at this point in time, right? But in terms of the longer term average, right, like the longer term trend, we focus on the red and the blue line. They are still, I think I would say they are still looking pretty decent, because at least they are still kind of like heading sideways, right, flattening out. At least they are not pointing down at this point in time, right? So for Lawrence, if you are thinking of actually entering, right, what I would suggest looking out for would at least to be for the short-term trend to at least stabilize first, right? Because right now price has broken below this 180. So by right, I should change this 180 to become a red line, right? Because now it is actually a resistance, right? So what we are actually looking for is, if price, is able to actually stabilize, I'm not sure where it will actually be stabilizing at, where will the buying pressure be coming back in? Hopefully, you know, it can come back in somewhere around 160 here. Not too sure, but if it can come back here, and this is where we actually see the 20 days moving average starts to actually point sideways, right? Sideways first. Then that is where you can potentially think of positioning yourself for entry. Because at this point in time, if you were to position yourself for entry, I'm not too sure where the buying pressure will come back, right? It could maybe go down even lower and lower and lower, right? And then that's where you perhaps might be stuck with unrealized losses already, because price could be still heading down with no buying pressure coming back in, right? So the next support level that perhaps you might want to look at is somewhere around this 140 level right over here, right? Because this was where the buying pressure actually came back in, as we can see right over here in July and as well as in August, right? So let me just turn this to green. Okay, so this would be one of the support level that perhaps you can consider to set some price alert. Okay, so after talking so much, right? Sorry, I have not even turned on the buy and sell signal. So let me just turn it on. And at this point in time, if we take a look at this, that is actually 1 GT bearish signal. So when we actually see this bearish signal, right, it doesn't mean that the stock will crash. But if we actually see more bearish signal than bullish signal, it is not that great for the stock, because it means that there is actually more selling pressure for this particular stock. And this is where we want to monitor a bit first before thinking of, you know, rushing in to actually buy into the stocks, right? And if I were to turn on this thing called the trading support, even in fact this trading support, right, you can see that it went even further, right, even lower, right? And this trading support actually went down some more. So for Lawrence, for AVGO, I would say that for now, I think perhaps you might want to monitor this stock first and perhaps want to see where the buying pressure are returning before actually thinking of positioning yourself for entry. All right, so I hope that helped, Lawrence. I'll pass the time back to Joey to actually cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let me go to cover the next one. All right, and that would be a very popular one, Nvidia. Let me just go to pull out the comments. I think a lot of you are asking about Nvidia. Jessica Michelle Lee, Nvidia can buy. All right, Jimmy Wong, Nvidia can buy more. All right, let's see. We have Le Petit Maché. Hi, Joey and team. I've been buying NVDA consistently from $70 to $120. Average price $90. Good. Now it's 100 plus, so you're still making a bit of money. Right, very good. Let's see, Nvidia as well, right? Winning stock trading, investing, Vivek, Nvidia, a lot of Nvidia, right? Asking about Nvidia, Jessica, Michelle Lee, Nvidia as well. All right, so I will go ahead to do Nvidia right now, Nvidia. All right, so let me go to talk about Nvidia right now. The price is $111.43, right? So you can see, right, for Nvidia, I will go ahead to draw this very key resistance level, the 150 over the past 5 to 6 months. You can see we have touched, came down, went up, came back down, went up, came back down. So 150 is a very key psychological resistance level. As long as we stay below it, where I would say we are still capped, we will probably be consolidating below it or maybe pushing away from it as well, right? What would be a support level? Well, this is a very key level right over here. The 100, all right? So 100, why is it important? Well, 100, so this is based on adjusted prices after Nvidia have done a stock split last year, right? So you can see this 100 would be a resistance level, right? We touched, came back down, consolidated below it in April last year, pump, we broke above it, came back down all the way, so went up, came back down, respected the same resistance, turn support, same thing, go back up, came back down, respected it again. All right, and over the past, I would say 2 weeks, same thing, we neared it, rebounded again. All right, we are kind of like making our way back down again. So anything near $100, so it's 111 right now. Are we near 100? Quite near. I mean, 105 will be nearer, all right? 102, 105, 106, 10, anything near 100 to 110. So let me go to draw this level for you right over here. Can you guys see right over here? So anything near 100, I would say that there could potentially be some serious good bargain hunting coming back, right? Good bargain hunting coming back. Some people buy on dips. There's some buying pressure slowly appearing as you to hit from 100 to 110, all right? So you can see this is what's happening right now. So let's talk about the trend, right? So for the longer term trend for Nvidia, in fact, Nvidia is one of the strongest, AI plays since about 2 years back. Look at this from 2023. It was like only $20. Now it's $100 over. I mean, it's how many times up, right? So very strong move. Longer term trend was up. Look at the red and the blue line up, right? Red above the blue very strong from 2023 all the way to maybe end of 2024, all right, right over here, whereby we started to see a bit of selling in the short term. But let's take a look at the longer term trend right now, right? So look at this, right? The red and the blue line. Well, the red is still above the blue, right? And but you can see that the red line is starting to point down a little bit, right? It hasn't crossed below the blue yet, but so it's a little bit shaky, I would say, in the longer term. Not entirely, right? Not entirely shaky or like bearish or stuff, but there are indeed some signs of the longer term trend potentially turning down, right? Not confirmed yet, but some signs. Because if the red to go below the blue and then both start to point down, not so good. And when will that happen? Well, I think if we were to go below or break below the 100 level, all right, the 100 psychological support level that we have been holding since June last year, and then that will happen. Then not so good. The longer term trend would potentially turn down even more. It would be another confirmation, especially on the break below the $100 psychological support level. But right now, some signs only, all right, need a bit more time, a bit more confirmation to see whether is it really going to go down, all right? So I think that is for Nvidia. And if you look at the short-term trend, right, look at this, the green 20 days moving average line was just like, up, then flat, then down, flat, down. Now I would say it is pointing down. So the short-term trend has turned down, all right? And I think I've mentioned, my team has mentioned as well, right? Bervin and Z, we have always said that we try not to buy when the short-term trend is down, right? We want to think about buying when at least the short-term trend has turned up. Look at the green line, up. Yes, this is what we want. Now look at this. The green line was down, flat, up. Yes, all right? So now it's going down. Will it go up? I don't know, right? But once it starts to go up, once it starts to see a reversal, that's where we could think about getting in again. And if I can quickly turn on the 1GT Pro indicator based on the bullish and bearish signals, 1, 2, 3, pump. Let's take a look what it says, right? Are there any bullish or bearish signals recently? Let's take a look. Well, you can see that we did have a couple of bearish signals, bearish. The past 1 month, pump. It starts going down more, all right? So it looks a bit bearish for now, all right? Has a new bullish signal came out? Not yet, haven't. Will it come out next week? I don't know. All right. Will it come out next week? I don't know. But let's wait for it to come out and then we'll see how it plays. All right. So, but right now, there are two bearish signals that's coming out. The green 20 days moving average line is still pointing down. So probably not yet. All right. Not yet. We're going to wait for some stability. And if I can turn on the trailing resistance, you can see, right? So now it goes down. The trailing resistance kind of like follows it as it goes down. All right, so we're still below it. So a little bit more negative for now. We're not out of the woods yet for Nvidia. I think we could still be a bit more bearish in the short term. Hopefully the $100 psychological support holds. If that holds, great. We might just consolidate a little bit. The trailing resistance will go down a bit more, all right? And then one fine day, if you see kind of like maybe a firm push above 120, or maybe the green 20 days moving average line starting to reverse back up, well, that would be another confirmation whereby we could start to see the reversal all the way back to 150. All right, so that is NVDA, one of the most popular AI stocks right over here. Okay, Ken, so let me pass on the mic to Bervin to cover the next US stock.
Thanks, Joey. I think follow the trend. Let's see. Okay, we got Andrew down here asking it's a good time to accumulate. I believe you are referring to Meta stocks, one of those Max 7 stocks that I think, yes, is pretty much on a lot of people's watch list as well. So let me just throw it up here. We got Meta. Okay, so I think for Meta, let's start with the longer term trend. How is it doing in the longer term? I think since early 2023, the Max 7 stocks, or Meta in these specific terms, has seen quite a good run up. As you can see, the 100 days, 200 days moving average have already started to slope up since then already. All right, so if we are to zoom in on the nearer term, has this trend continued? It looks like, yes, as of right now, we have the 100 days, 200 days moving average still toning down, although we are seeing a little bit of a weakness, I would say, for the 20 days moving average. So in the nearer term, there is weakness still present, but is this an opportunity to continue buying or to accumulate on these dips? I would say in the nearer term, we have found this support right here around this 570, 580 level, where prices have previously, since late 2024 and into early 2025, we have rebounded from this $580 level. But we have also been kept under this 640 level. Previously was a resistance. Prices tested it, came back down, went back up again, tested it, went back down a little bit, then finally breaking above it. And previously, I think sometime in March, we were not able to hold above it after consolidating for 3 days. Prices did not seem to be able to hold above it, finally broke below. And right now, we are back in that range, that 580 to 640 level again. So if you are looking to accumulate, I think perhaps this level or this 580 support area could be one of those levels that bargain hunting could come back in again or once more. I think this is one of those levels that perhaps many people are looking to accumulate as well. But with the nearer term weakness, I think maybe you want to consider to just monitor for a little bit first to see if that 20 days moving average will start to flatten out and head towards that support zone that you can actually consider to accumulate. But I think the upside is still there. The upside for Meta will still be there if this 640 level gives way once again. You could see the upside towards that 740, 750 level once again. I think that is still a pretty good upside as well. So I think Meta has started to announce that they're going to give dividends. I think it is quite a good sign that maybe this is a chance for those buyers to come in to take note of these key levels. I think the other key level that you may wish to take note of would be a little bit more aggressive one is if this 640 level gives way. You could potentially see this 640 turn into what we call a resistance turn to support. But as of right now, it remains a resistance. All right. So if I were to just turn on the buy and sell signals, the 1GT buy and sell signals, you could see that sometime in February, we had this 1GT bearish signal that came back in. Why? It is because this trailing support previously was broken and then prices started to head down. Right now, this trailing resistance is still holding, but it looks to be flattening out a little bit. We want it to stay flat, not just continuing to go down, because that would mean that prices are just heading lower and lower and lower and lower. All right. So I think two levels that you have actually can take note of to actually time your entry or potentially accumulate on such tips as well. All right, so that's a very, very quick one for Meta. Then I can pass the time now to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Mervin. Okay, so the next stock that I'll be covering is from Damien, right? So Damien is actually asking, let me just share my screen. Okay, so Damien is asking for Taiwan Semiconductor at 200 can keep. So let's take a look at the trend for Taiwan Semiconductor, right? So it's right over here. Since 2024 all the way to 2025, we have been seeing strong uptrend for this counter, right? Especially in the semiconductor industries. And, the longer term trend definitely still looks great, right? All the way up to where we are at now. I mean, over the past year, it has been going up. But I mean, from February all the way to March, over the past month, it seems to be flattening out a bit. At least it's not pointing down yet, right? And in terms of the shorter term trend, we actually do see some up and down here, and there's some selling pressure coming back in. But it was only somewhere in February. This is where we actually saw more confirmation in terms of the shorter term weakness, right? Whereby it actually broke below both the longer term, and it is actually still pointing down right now, right? And if we take a look at the support and the resistance level, right, we always try to draw the low lying fruits first. So the one that is easier for you to see and the easiest for you to actually draw, right? So in terms of resistance wise, definitely there will be one resistance level right over here, right? Somewhere near this 230, because this is where when the price is actually near this 230, in fact, even 220, right? This is where we actually saw some selling pressure actually coming back in, right, to push price back down. And this is also where we saw a 1GT bearish signal coming in, right? And this level right over here, we can also draw this, what we call right now is a resistance, right? This 190, because previously back here somewhere in July, prices rallied all the way up to 190. And again, this is where we saw selling pressure coming back in, another one GT bearish signal coming out and push price back down, right? And this is where, prices kind of like testing this 190 level, before pushing up to the 220. So as of now, this 190, I would say, would be one of the immediate resistance that you might want to take a look, keep a lookout for, right? To see whether price can actually once again recapture this 190 and head back up towards the 220. But as of now, price yesterday closed at 168, right? So it's below the 190. So into this, where is the immediate support that perhaps you might want to take note or set some price alert at, right? That would be this 150 level right over here, right? Because this, again, back in March, this is where we actually saw selling pressure coming back in, this red bearish candles, price then kept below it, near it again, another one GT bearish signal coming out. So you can see the repeated pattern. Always when it's near resistance, then after that a 1 GT bearish signal coming out, selling pressure push price back down, right? So this 150 back to this 150, I would say, would be one of the psychological support level, right? But sometimes you may ask, then why here this level is below this 150, right? I believe this day, if I remember correctly, this day would be the day whereby the Japan yen carry trade and it's like a black swan event, right? The entire market kind of like just crashed within that one day. But for this TSM, we actually saw that, the price actually recovered very, very quickly, right? And price then subsequently continued to hold above this 150. So I would say for now, this 150 would be a psychological support for you to take note, right? For you to take note. So if you have actually bought at 200, right? I'm not too sure what's your plan for this counter, right? So as we always say, you always want to have a plan before you actually enter, right? The plan includes like a stop loss, like a target. If prices were to break below this 190, right? Then what's your plan? Where is your plan to actually get out, right? So at this point in time, I'm not too sure for this TSMC, are you considering this even for like a long-term holding counter, right? Because we do have clients who are working in this industry and they have really strong conviction in this particular counter and they are actually holding this for long-term, right? So perhaps if, let's say, you are only holding this counter for trading purposes, then I would say you might want to consider to have a stop loss plan in place, right? Because you wouldn't want to buy why would you want to buy somewhere at 200 and then price go down, you still hold at 200 and sitting on losses? Wouldn't you want to get out first and wait for the price to actually stabilize, actually like something like that, right? Stabilize, and then after that, then actually buy when it actually has more confirmation of the trend actually rebounding to capture that upside, right? Rather than just keep holding on to the stock. So it really depends on what is your plan for this counter, right? Because it could be holding for a long-term trade. I'm not too sure, right? So, but here are some of the levels that perhaps, Damien, you might want to take note, which is near this 150, this is the support level. So if prices is unable to hold, right, and it keeps going down and down and it eventually breaks this support level, this is where you want to be a bit more cautious with it, because I'm sure by then, the 100 days moving average, 200 days moving average, both of these probably would have been pointing down, and we could even see more weakness with another 1 GT bearish signal. All right. So that would be for TSM. I hope that helps. I will pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let me go ahead to share my screen and I'll cover the next stock right over here. But before I cover the next stock, guys, I think we have some questions. So if you guys have any questions, instead of like putting the stock in the chat as well, if you have any questions regarding the strategy or things you're not sure about, please feel free to put in chat as well. We'll try to cover them. So I think, Jay, I saw a question like this, right? Why do we buy bargain when we should buy during momentum moves? All right, shouldn't we be buying at all-time highs instead of bargain buys? I think that's a very good question, Jay. All right, so what you're saying is correct, all right, because we want to first of all focus on stocks which are strong, all right, which are in the longer term uptrend, and also the short term trend is up. So basically, we want to be aligned with the trend. All right, why? Because the trend is your best friend. I think you've heard of this, right? We want to think about buying strong stocks, and strong stocks could be what we call all-time highs as well. For example, if we see a bullish signal, it starts moving up, it consolidates, it breaks a horizontal resistance, and it goes even higher to an all-time high. Could we load up more positions? Yes, we could, because that's where we could see more upside, right? So let's talk about this bargain buy. So we try not to buy bargain buys. So I think maybe just to explain a little bit clearer in terms of bargain buys, when we're talking about bargain buys, we're talking about stocks where the longer term trend is up. Very good, right? Longer term trends up. We might see a bit of a bearish signal, a bit of short-term trend coming down. But we are looking to, and doesn't mean just anyhow buy, I know, right? Because the short-term trend is down, right? Is bargain is cheaper? Yes, correct. But doesn't mean anyhow buy. We want to wait for the bargain to come in. We don't wait for that reversal signal to come in, for a bullish signal, for the short-term trend to turn up. Yes, that's why we get it. All right, not just buy because it's cheap and bargain, and then it comes down because it was cheaper than 2 weeks ago, and then you buy. No, that should not be a reason. Because sometimes when we, ask and talk to some of our clients, all right, and we ask them, hey, why do you buy this stock? Or because it came down. Full stop. Because it's cheaper. Full stop. You don't buy just because it's cheaper, right? We buy because there's some clear signals of a reversal, then we buy. Does it make sense? All right. So that is all part of the one good trend strategy. So we don't just buy because it's bargain. We buy because it has probably come to some bargain zones. Plus, there's some reversal signals. Plus, the short-term trend also turning up. Then there's a few things lah. Right? Not just because it's bargain lah. Does it make sense? All right. So I hope that helps, guys. As I say, guys, if you want to find a bit more the entire strategy, attend one of those free webinars they're running. All right. I'll just place the link in the chat again. Click on the link in the chat, and that is where you will be taken into this page right over here. Let me just show you this page right over here. So this is where you'll go to. All right. You come to this page right over here. And pretty much you can go to register for this webinar. We have one 1st of April 2025, which is next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m. All right, so this is pretty much what we'll cover, the 3 secrets, number 1, number 2, and number 3. And essentially, how do we actually scan for the top 1% of stocks in 5 seconds and know what to do with them, all right, to buy or sell them based on the 1GT Pro indicator, all right? So I think some of you have already registered. Jeffrey registered an hour ago. Great, that's the link. I'll just place the link in the chat. Check it out, all right? And I look forward to share more with you in the One Good Trend workshop. So let's move on right now to the US stock that who is asking about. Let's see. Yekmin, you're asking about this stock called BABA. BABA, I think that will be Alibaba, $135. Not too bad. Alibaba. All right, you can see that since January, February, with the launch of this AI model by DeepSeek at a fraction of cost, like $5 or $6 million, compared to OpenAI, ChatGPT, a few $1 billion, that really sparked off a whole new bullish sentiment, all right, in the Chinese tech sector, right? Alibaba, Tencent, Xiaomi, and all the other tech stocks started to push up as well. And of course, the Chinese government has also started to lend a little bit more support to the Chinese tech sector with the AI sector, the EV space, the 5G space as well. And that has, kind of like spurred even more momentum in the Chinese tech stocks. All right, so let's take a look at Alibaba right now. You can see from like $80, $90. Let me go to turn on what we call the 1GT Pro indicator. So very simple, pump. Let's turn it on. Let's see what it says, right? Look at this, right? We had, I'll not go too far, but September, we got a bullish signal right here. There we go, all the way up. A bearish signal came out, and there we go, down, down, down. So when we see a bearish signal, all right, and the green 20 days moving average line pointing down, we try not to rush to buy, all right? We try not to do the bargain buy thing, right? No, right? We want to wait for a confirmation, the short-term trend turn up, then we get in. And where would that be? Well, that would be something like here, right? So we got a bearish signal, wait, be patient, pump. Yes, wake up, all right? That is where we can wake up, we can start to put this stock in our watch list. You can see the green 20 days moving average line started to point up as well. Does it make sense? All right. And that's where we started to push all the way up. And from these bullish signals in like January 23rd, not one, but 2 bullish signals, I would say from here to here, about a 57.3% in about 2 months. Pretty okay. So I'm not too sure, Yikmin, where you have bought the stock. Maybe you're thinking about buying right now, but let's take a look at it right now. So 57%, not too good, not too bad, all right? But what you want to do is that if you've got in here, you want to take steps to protect your profits, right? So what we could do is that we could turn on the trailing support line. So look at this, right? This is a trailing support. When the bullish signals first came out, we have a trailing support that follows Alibaba as it moves up. Follow up, follow, flat up, flat. Now it's starting to flat down. So this trailing support is currently around the $125 right over here. So I think if we were to stay above this 125 to maybe 130, I think it still looks okay. We are maybe just consolidating towards this resistance, the same 150, right? Yeah, I think same as the Nvidia, which I did, right? 150, right? So yeah, 150 would be a very key resistance level. It came down. So I think the range, to keep it simple, maybe 130 to 150, or maybe 125 to 150. All right, that is kind of like the range. The green 20 days moving average line was like up. Now it started to flatten out, which is okay. Once the green line flatten out, it means that in the short term, we have turned from up to a sideways consolidation. Basically, it's taking a rest. All right, it's taking a rest. It doesn't mean it's going to crash or what. It just means taking a bit of a rest above the support level from like 125 to 130. So if we stay above it, all right, above this support, I think the green line continue to point sideways. But one fine day, what we're looking at is that, if we were to break the 150 level, we go to 151 or 152, 155, right? Great. I can tell you this green line, it will stop flattening out, right? It will not flatten out anymore. All right. It will start to point up. Great. That would be where it will lead the next phase of upside. We would even have a bullish signal coming out again. That's what we call a momentum play. All right. A break of a resistance, a horizontal resistance. We could see targets being raised to maybe 180 to 200. That's where you could load up even more, right? So right now, I think it's still okay. These bullish signals that have came out in January, 57% gain, still playing out. No bearish signal coming out yet. A bearish signal would come out. Let me just clarify, right? So a bearish signal would come out if we were to go below this trailing support. So as I say, this trailing support, you're supposed to be above it, right? We've given you space. We account for the volatility. You should stay above it. But one fine day, I don't know what happened. You go below 125, you go below 120. Not good, right? Because we have given you space, you still go below. That means something is wrong, right? So that is where a bearish signal will come out. You probably want to have take some steps to get out, stop loss, reduce exposure, because we could start to see that reversal back down again, right? If the 125, or 120 support were to give way. But so far so good. We're still above it. I think it looks pretty okay. I'm looking for more of a break of 150. All right, so that is for Alibaba. Devin, back to you to cover the next US stock.
Thanks, Joey. I think one of the other stocks a lot of people are asking is this Google. I think GOOGL. I think Ivory is asking, Wunhao is asking, Jay also is asking. But so that actually for Google, there's actually two counters. One is GOOGL, one is GOOG. Basically covering the same stock, just a difference in the voting rights for the shares, but they're actually underlying same company. So no problem. I'll just cover GOOGL. The analysis should be around the same. The level should be around the same as well. Maybe slight difference of $1 to $2 only. All right. Okay. So for like Joey have mentioned, when you look at a stock, you want to look at the trend as a longer term trend first, as entirety, a full view picture first. So if we are going to start the same on Google, let's see. For Google, the longer term trend, it has obviously flattened out already in the nearer term here. As you can see, it has not as much as a gradient as you would see previously as well. If you compare it to the past, it has flattened out a bit. I mean, very, very obviously, we can see prices have already sold down from a high as well. All right. So if we are looking at the nearer term trend, very obvious, we can see that 20 days moving average very, very steeply or very, very sharply pointing down as well. This is as when prices had broke above that $200 level for a little bit and then not able to hold above after their earnings came in, started to slip down lower and lower and lower. Right now, we have seen like a drawdown from that high of about 205 to right now, as of yesterday's close, about 21% drawdown already. So I think that is a sign that there are sellers in the market, but should you be buying? Should you be buying when everybody else is looking to sell? Do not want to buy something that have signs of bearishness coming in. You want to make sure those key support, key levels continue to hold. As you can see right here, previously there was a key level about that 180 level that previously was tested. Tested once, tested twice, tested 3 times. Broke above, and then we broke below it in the late of February. Towards the end of February, we broke towards it, and right now we are back towards that next support level already. We are back towards the next support level at around that 160 level. That 160 level seems to be holding at this point, but I think we need a little bit more confirmation, because previously it had tested once, twice in the last week as well. It had tested this level. Not too sure if this level is able to hold, or would we see like a further breakdown as well. So that is not what we want. We want to wait for a little bit of a confirmation to come in. We don't want to be rushing in for a counter like this, especially like I mentioned, the 100 days moving average not doing too well, 200 days not doing too well, 20 days obviously not doing too well as well. So obviously right now we are at that support area. Does it mean to buy? No, I think it is a very, very clear sign that we should be waiting, as it looks like selling pressure could continue as well. So if I were to turn on that buy and sell signals, you can see right here, I think last 2 weeks ago, there was another 1 GT bearish signal that is still playing out at this point. We do not see, that prices breaking above that trailing support and resistance. If we were to turn on, very, very close to that 180 level. So I think prices would be better, or as in you'll be better off waiting for a little bit of consolidation to come in, and perhaps even maybe paying a premium if prices break above that 180 to give you that additional confirmation. So sometimes it's okay to buy a little bit more expensive, but you want to have that conviction, you want to have that confirmations that come in to show you that the buying momentum, or that momentum is back, or the buying interest is back, rather than just a bargain hunting. Of course, if you can get a bargain, with all these confirmations coming in at the same time, it being at a discount, that is the best case scenario. But of course, the market doesn't wait for you to, you have bought, then you go up. No, we sometimes have to be a little bit more patient to let that trend play out, to give us a little bit more, sense of direction. You don't want to be rushing in at the same time. So a few levels I would say to take note would be these 160 levels, to see whether it breaks or it holds. So an alert to let yourself know that prices are crossing down that 160 level is one that you want to take note of. So I can just set a very simple alert right here. You can just right click and an alert. And the other level you want to take note of would be to give yourself that confirmation, would be that 180 level finally being broken. And that's also when we could see a 1 GT bullish signal start to come in. So at the same time, we have already talked about setting an alert if the prices move up or down, but you can also set an technical alert for that 1 GT signal to come in. You can set a buy or sell alert, once per bar, you can create it. So this is how powerful the 1 GT Pro indicator is. It can send those signals or those notifications to you if there is another new 1 GT bullish or bearish signals that come in, to maybe come in and then watch your chart, to watch the prices to see if it or the trends have turned into that direction that you wanted it to be, and potentially can use that as an opportunity to get in and ride the upside as well. All right, so that is a very, very quick one for Google, GOOGL in this case. So I'll pass the time back to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Mervin. Okay, so I saw this question from Jen, right? So Jen is actually asking about a particular stock that we actually covered in one of our bonus stock in, I think, a past few weeks, somewhere in February, if I'm not wrong. So let me just share my screen right over here. So Jen is actually asking about ISRG, right? So for those who do not know, ISRG is more of like a healthcare medical specialty kind of counter, whereby they actually provide robotic assisted surgical solutions, right? And more of like a dabble in healthcare, basically healthcare and tech combined together. Okay, so if we take a look at this, right, Jen was like saying the price is actually down from 550. So I would assume that perhaps you have bought somewhere close to 550. And what's your thoughts on this? So let's take a look at this, right? Because the thing about stock is that the stock trend can look very beautiful, but it doesn't mean that the stock will always go up, right? It can go up, and then there could be some short-term weakness coming back in, selling pressure coming back in, and stock will actually go down in the short term, right? So the best thing that we can always do with this is that to always have a trading plan, because we can never predict or forecast what is going to happen, right? But what the best thing that we can do is always to react accordingly to our trading plan. Okay, so based on this, starting from 2024 all the way to 2025, uptrend definitely look intact and look nice, right? All prices have been going up. All three moving averages has been going up. So somewhere right over here in February, this is where we actually covered this particular stock, right? And we can clearly tell that 550, this is where previously it was actually a resistance level, right? And it actually broke above with a 1 GT bullish signal coming out, right? And like we've mentioned, at this point in time, if we look at this uptrend, Does it look good? Yes. Short term pointing up, longer term is also heading up, right? And we always mention, like Joey, Bervin, and myself, we always mention that when it's in an uptrend, you want to buy near a support level. So where would the support level be? That would be like near the 550, right? So I think, Jen, when you enter perfectly somewhere near the 550, that is exactly where we're actually looking at as well, because this would be exactly at the support zone we have drawn here, this rectangle right over here, right? So this would be the support zone because 550 has turned from a resistance to a support. So entering is very easy, right? We can just enter near a support. But the question is, what about your downside? What about your stop loss plan, right? Once you have entered already, you have to actually protect your downside because, reward is not 100% guaranteed, right? But once you enter in a position, risk is always guaranteed. So you always have to actually protect your downside. So once you have actually entered somewhere near this 550, where would your stop loss be, right? So the key thing is the stop loss would have to be somewhere slightly below the support level, right? Because that is where we want to protect our downside. So the stop loss would, if let's say once you entered 550 somewhere here, your stop loss would have been placed here. So when then the price subsequently somewhere in end of Feb, this is where short-term weakness come back in and we actually see a 1 GT bearish signal coming up. So this would give you a first sign as to, oh, okay, there is more selling pressure returning back to this counter. So if you have already set your stop loss, you would have already gotten out, right? But I believe at this point in time, you probably did not set your stop loss and you are still holding on to this stock. So that's why you're asking about it, right? So no problem. So now the thing is that we are seeing where the thing is that right over here, right, prices actually came back down, broke this 550, right? So now this 550, I should change it to red, right? Because it has turned from a support to become a resistance. Now price is actually below it, right? And we then see another 1 GT bearish signal coming out. So even more weakness returning back to this counter, right? Plus the 20 days moving average has been still going down. And at this point in time, just as of yesterday, we are still seeing some signs whereby this 20 days moving average, the green line, is actually attempting to break below the blue line, which is the 200 days moving average. So that is also not a good sign, right, in terms of the short-term strength. But what we can see is that over the past couple of weeks, right, in March, we can actually see that there is some buying pressure, there is some support returning back at this level right over here, right, somewhere close to 470 to 480, because this was where we actually saw price kind of consolidated sideways, right, from August in 2024 to October, for a good like 1 to 2 months, right? And this over the past week in March, we actually also see the same thing happening, buying pressure actually returning, right? So at this point in time, the immediate support, I would say, would be somewhere around this 470 to 480 level, where perhaps you want to monitor very closely, because if this level were to be broken down, right, prices in unable to hold above it, this is where we may see more weakness actually returning back to this counter. And where potentially can it see more weakness too, right? I would say probably somewhere this level right over here, which is also considered the $400 psychological support level. Okay, so Jen, I hope that analysis helps. And do remember, always when you actually enter a stock, do have a trading plan in place, all right? That means trading plan includes your entry, your stop loss, as well as your target price. Okay, but I also saw another question, right, just nice by this Ian, right? Ian is actually asking about this thing called the trailing indicator, whether is it similar to VWAP. So let's just turn on this trailing support and resistance for reference. So I believe, Ian, you're asking about this trailing indicator. Okay, so by the way, this trailing indicator, right, it's not the same as VWAP, because this trailing indicator is actually derived from what we call an average true range, right? So the average true range accounts for the volatility of the stocks, right? Different stocks have different volatility, right? So this trailing support and resistance that we see here actually accounts for the volatility of the stocks and is derived from the average true range multiplied by a certain factor, right? But the VWAP that you're talking about is slightly different, because that is more of volume weighted average price, right? And it takes into account of the price and the volume. Okay, so that would be different in that sense. And usually VWAP, actually people mainly use it for like intraday trading. I believe like intraday traders, they use a lot of VWAP. But in our case, as you can tell from our analysis, from Joey, from Bervin, and myself, we always use a daily chart, right? So in terms of daily chart wise, we take a look at this volume weighted we take a look at this trailing support and resistance rather than using a VWAP to actually help us with our analysis. Okay, so I hope that helps Ian. And also I think I've covered ISRG. Yeah, so I'll be covering I'll be passing the time back to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Very good analysis right over here. All right, let me go ahead to share my screen and I'll cover the next stock, right? So yeah, I think Z have answered a really good question as well. So for this one good trend strategy, in a nutshell, guys, we want to be in the same direction as a trend, all right? And we're not doing like day trading over here, buying and selling in 5 minutes or 10 seconds and buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. No, right? It's every single day there will be a candlestick bar. We are using what we call a daily candlestick bar. 1 day, 1 bar, 2 day, 2 bars. Simple, all right? It's not day trading. It's more swing to position trading, whereby we can hold on to our positions couple of weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. I mean, can go up higher, then even better. Why you want to sell, right? So it's more swing to position trading, all right? We don't sell after 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Okay, Ken? I mean, look at this, right? This is Walmart. I think one of you, Eugene, you're asking about Walmart, right? So for example, look at this, right? We got a bullish signal for Walmart in August. Over here, that was in August. And it's not like 5 minutes later we sell, right? It's all the way up from August all the way up to December, about 3-4 months later, 28%, then we sell. Right? Why we sell? Because we got a bearish signal, because it's looking a bit shaky. We got a bearish signal. You want to get out, take some profit, right? So that is part of the strategy, right? It's not a daily thing when you sell and buy, sell 20 times a day. No, right? It's more for swing to position, right? So just to give you a bit of an idea in a nutshell, and the one good trend strategy. So let's talk about Walmart right now, Eugene. Is Walmart WMT can start buying in or not? So I believe maybe you have got out, or maybe you have been eyeing this stock and then now become cheaper over the past 1 month. You are looking to buy, right? A bit cheaper, right? So let's go to find out, right? You can see for Walmart, the longer term trend has been up. Look at this, the red and blue line both pointing up since about 1 over year back. So very good long-term up trending stock. But of course, we did see a couple of a bearish signal, went down a little bit, went down for maybe 1 week. Over here as well, bearish signal maybe went down for 2 weeks. And let's zoom into what has happened over the past 1 over month. Well, we have not won. So we got a bullish signal right here. Green 20 days moving average line started to point up. There we go, all the way up. And unfortunately, we got a bearish signal coming out, or the market came down. Most of the stocks got affected. The tech stocks got affected as well. Walmart being a consumer play got affected as well due to some recession fears. All right. So bearish signal, another bearish signal came out. All right. And obviously the green 20 days moving average line that was like going up and up, flat, started to point down. All right. Is it still pointing down right now? Yes. All right. Is it time to get in right now today? Probably not. Why? Because we are seeing 2 bearish signals and the short-term trend is down. It's that simple. All right. So then you might ask me, but Joey, you say that the long-term trend is up. What? Yeah, correct. That's correct. All right. I'm not saying it's not up. The longer-term trend is up, but the short-term trend is down. So why don't we wait until both of them is up, and then we get a bullish signal, and then we get back in? Does it make sense? All right, that would be better, right? Rather than you get in and you get stuck, and it goes down and down and down, and you get stuck. So we don't want to do that, right? So it's something like this. So we got 2 bearish signals. So this is 1 bearish signal. This is one. Let's see when we have 2. Here. Can you see right over here? Same thing, right? So we got 2 bearish signals. So look at this, right? So we got 1. That was when November 2023. So we got 1. We got 2, and then go down, down, down. So what do you want to wait for? There, you want to wait for this, right? Wait for this. Right over here, a bullish signal, another bullish signal, all right? And of course, look at the green 20 days moving average line. We've got 2 bearish signals. It goes down, 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 and then started to flat, then started to point up all the way, all right? So I'm not too sure whether can you take it from, let's assume that we could just take from here, right? Copy, and then we put it to the other side, right? Maybe put over here. Does it make sense? All right, so that's what we could look out for, right? If we get a bullish signal plus the short-term trend turn up, then yes, both the longer term and the short-term trend is up. Plus, we got another bullish signal confirming that reversal move. That is where probably you want to start buying it. But now, haven't yet. All right, haven't come in yet. I hope that makes sense. All right, so that is for Walmart. All right, so yep, I'll pass on the mic to Bervin to cover the next US stock.
Thanks, Joey. Okay, I think Grace is asking about the next Mac 7 stock. Okay, so right here we have AAPL or Apple. Let me just turn off this trailing support and resistance. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave this buy and sell signals right here, like how Joey have mentioned as well. So okay, right here, do we see these 2? Just pointing this out first. We got these 2 bearish signal or 1GT bearish signal that have actually came in already. So if we are to look at this, like just these two signals and add on this portion, this two moving average, this 100 days, 200 days moving average, I think it's very, very, very clear here that the 100 days and 200 days moving average are still flat. They're not pointing up anymore, not like what we have in the last 2 years. At the same time, it has started to flatten out, and maybe the 100 days moving average is also looking like it's sloping down already. All right, okay, so it's flat and pointing down maybe, and that 20 days moving average is also, pointing down. We do not want to, be rushing in to get in, although it is Apple, it is a good counter, it's fundamentally still a strong company as well. But I think we want to follow the trend. We want to follow the trend that we want to watch out for those key indications, because this is what the entire market or the market players are currently thinking about where the prices are heading to as well. So we want to wait for a little bit more confirmation, but we have to just take note of just some key supports. I would say the support right now would be around that 220 level with that $200 psychological level being that key next level as well that we want to watch out for. So if we were to just project upwards or just look upwards and see where the upside be, I think you could see that prices have previously touched that $250 level, came close to it, opened close to this $250 level, started to sell down, and then in more recent times, another time that $250 level was also tested. So I think in a situation like this, you may be thinking, oh, now it's a little bit of a bargain, $220, as compared to about somewhere in February where it was $250. But could the price hit lower? I think would also be a consideration for me. So I would say for Apple, I think it is maybe a little bit more prudent to wait for that 20 days moving average to show that in the nearer term there is a little bit of consolidation that could happen, and prices break above that trailing support, like Z have mentioned as well. You want to wait for that trailing support to flatten out, and then prices break above that trailing support, giving yourself that additional confirmation alongside with the rest of the market that perhaps it could hit back higher. So I, at the same time, just realized that if you have drawn these two lines, this 250, 210 level, 220 level, and this 250 level, you would see that prices have been consolidating pretty much in this range since June of last year. So if prices were to, maybe able to push higher and break above this $250 level, I think potentially that is a sign of a new phase. If we just do a simple projection, you could see prices head towards that next key 280 level. So pretty much there has been a consolidation range for Apple. And if this 250 level gives way alongside with maybe some new 1GT bullish signals that could come in at the same time, then perhaps that 280 level would be a new price target as well. All right, so that is for Apple. But I think Ian was also asking another question. I think maybe I can answer this question at the same time, because Apple has a little bit of dividends. Would I be better to consider buying, especially when their dividend yield is at an all-time high, while valuation is more reasonable? I think this question can be a little bit contradicting, because if the dividend yield is high and the dividend yield is, or the company pays out a constant dividend, but the price continues to go lower and lower and lower, it could artificially, inflate that dividend yield. The dividend yield will look higher than it's supposed to be. So that is what sometimes people, what you will read sometimes online, they call a dividend trap. So you don't want to be buying purely just because dividend yield is good, but actually the price is just going lower and lower and lower. Yeah. So at an all-time high, you tend to see dividend yield being rather flat. But I think if you are looking at the fundamentals, you should look at the company's dividend payout ratio and see whether it's consistent rather than just looking at the dividend yield. All right, Ian, I think that pretty much answers this question. And maybe I pass the time now to Z to cover the next stock for you guys.
Thanks, Lavin. Okay, so let me just cover the next one. And I think this is by Wilson. So Wilson is asking about DGX. So since I was covering a healthcare stock earlier, right? Let me on the same note cover this healthcare stock again, because I believe this was also one of our bonus stock previously, right? So for Quest Diagnostic, if we just purely take a look at the trend, Wilson is asking DGX moving at support. So long-term trend wise definitely still looks intact, right? Both 100 days, 200 days still heading up, right? But shorter term trend, we are seeing some weakness, and this was exactly the chart that we have drawn, or we have left it since, like, you know, the last time that we have analyzed it. So right over here, as you can see, there's like the green box, red box, and also red dotted line, right? Basically, this was the trading plan that we have actually covered previously during the bonus stock as well. Okay, so like we can see that right over here, the support level, right, still remains the same at this 165 level right over here, right? Because this was previously why it was actually a resistance, right? This level was actually tested right over here in November before selling pressure comes back in. 1 GT bearish signal came out and prices push all the way back down to actually retest and test this support level somewhere around this 148 to 150, right? Which then we actually see a 1 GT bullish signal coming up, and subsequently another bullish signal coming up, right? And at this point in time, there is still no bearish signal as of yet, right? As of yet. So, Wilson, I think you are perfectly right to say that the DJX is actually moving at the support level, because this 165 level right over here has turned from a resistance to become like a support, right? Because price is actually hovering, it's still over it, right? And over the past week, we saw that price have been staying over this 165 support level, and which exactly it is in this green color box right over here, which is our potential buy zone, right, that we are talking about. But in terms of buying, then the question is, okay, if you are intending to buy, right, you can buy near the buy zone. But then, like what we mentioned earlier on in terms of trading plan, where can you potentially place your stop loss at, right? Because you do need to protect your downside, right? Let the upside take care of itself, but you need to protect the downside, correct? So for downside, we always turn on this thing called the trailing support and resistance. And this is where you can actually use this trailing support and resistance, like what I mentioned earlier on. It takes into account of the stock volatility, right? Giving the stock room to actually breathe, right? So this is where we can use this trailing support to actually use it as a guide or a reference to place your stop loss level, right? To protect your downside. So as you can see right over here, this dotted line right over here, this is where we can actually potentially place our the stop limit order, right? Which is also called a stop loss order, right? Because this is where you can actually place slightly below this green color trailing support. So once, I mean, of course, at this point in time, maybe you want to give it a bit wider, because like we see over here, this long lower shadow, right? This long lower shadow right over here, it's pretty long, right? And it has crossed below this 165 support level. So perhaps you might want to give it a wider range if you are thinking about entering near this buy zone. But in terms of exit wise, I don't know if you guys still remember, for those who have actually attended the previous session where we talked about this stock, right? This target right over here, this 180 level, how did we derive it? It is from a projection upwards like this, right? From the support level. So the target will still remain the same, you know, as I've drawn in this like red color box, 180 right over here. So target, then we have a potential buy zone, and we also have a stop loss, and that is where we have a more comprehensive trading plan. All right. So Wilson, I hope that gives you a refresher on this particular stock. And yes, DJX is currently, I would say it's actually in and moving near the support zone at this point in time. All right. So that will be for DGX. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Okay, so let me go to cover, I would say, stock number 12, right? So I think we have quite a few joining us right here today, typing the stocks. Those of you who have participated, time in the chat, thank you so much, all right? And I hope we have covered your stocks as well. But those of you who we have not yet covered your stocks, just give us some time. Hopefully, we can cover it today or maybe the next session as well. But you know, each time we do Ask Me Any Stocks live session, we have more than 40, 50 over requests. So we do our best, guys. We do our best, all right? And we hope you get value out of this. So let me just go to read out maybe the name. So those stocks that we have covered already, right, guys, we will not be covering them again. So you can probably watch the replay if on my YouTube channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button if you're on Facebook as well, so that when we go live in the future, you will be alerted. And also you can go ahead to go back to the channel very easily to watch the replay in case you miss Any Stocks, right? So what are the stocks? Well, starting of the Ask Me Any Stocks US live session today, I talk about the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 index. Pretty much what's happening right now in the markets. Why are we seeing weakness? What are some of the key levels to watch as well? All right, that's what we talk about. And I dive into the very first stock that you guys were asking about. I covered on Tesla. So I think a lot of you were asking about Tesla. So we'll not cover it, guys. I've covered it the very first stock. So Tesla, Bervin did Palantir, we have a Broadcom AVGO, all right, we have a Nvidia, which I covered as well, right? Meta, covered as well. Taiwan Semiconductor, the code is TSM. We have BABA, BABA, Google, GOOGL, Alphabet, GOOGL. We have Intuitive Surgical, Z covered it. I covered Walmart, WMT. Bervin covered Apple, AAPL. Finally, we have a Quest Diagnostics that Z just covered. And right now, I'll be talking about this stock called AMD, all right, AMD right here. Let me go to pull out my chart. And this is AMD. So let's see who is asking about AMD. Let me just pull out the, let's see, right? Can we, where is AMD? Okay, Chester right up here. Should I sell my AMD? All right, should you sell? So I probably think you've bought it previously. I'm not too sure what price you bought it. All right. If you bought it over here and it goes down, or here, it goes down, so you probably wouldn't have bought it over the past 4 to 5 months. Because why? You can see that we actually had a couple of bearish signals, not just last week or last month, but since October, right over here. Not one, but we got 2 bearish signals. Look at the green 20 days moving average line starting to point down, down. All right. So not too sure where you bought it. If you bought it like last year, then probably you want to get out when you see a bearish signal. Does it make sense, Chester? All right, so I'm not too sure, but of course, if you bought it like last month only, maybe over here and here, then by right should not have bought because we got bearish signal. It's a bit more weak. You don't want to buy a stock that is in a downtrend. Plus, there are also signs of the longer term trend also going down. Look at this, right? The blue line and the red line. All right, so normally we're going to buy stocks whereby the longer term trend is up. The red is above the blue, both pointing up. But in this case, you can see that since last year, August, the red gone below the blue. In order for the red to be below, you need to cross below, right? So the red went below the blue and both of them started to point down. So I'm just not so bullish on this stock anymore. Why? Because the longer term trend has turned down. The longer term trend has turned down, right? I mean, for most of the stocks that we covered, right? Like, I mean, Apple or some other stocks, right? Walmart and stuff. Well, the longer term trend was up, right? It's still okay because the longer term trend is up. I mean, the short term trend is down, agree, but at least the longer term trend was up. But in this case, for AMD, I mean, since last year, August, September, well, the longer term trend has actually started to turn down. Plus, we got bearish signals. Plus the short-term trend also down, and there we go. All right. So back to your question, right? Should I sell AMD? Well, I think it really depends because by right, if you want to sell, you have got out over here already in 160 or 150, but now it's going down already. Now it's only $106. If you sell, maybe you can watch a while more. Why? Because thankfully, I think we did have a bullish signal coming out. All right, a bullish signal coming out doesn't mean you're going to go all the way up tomorrow or whatnot. No, I mean, it just means that finally we are having a bit of a bargain hunting coming back. There's some buying pressure after these 2 bearish signals from October. Right now it's like March. Finally a bullish signal coming out, so that could be a sign of a potential reversal in the short term, right? Let's take a look at where, right? So I would say that right now maybe this is a very key resistance level to watch, the 120. So 120, you can see you've got a bullish signal. The green 20 days moving average line that was like going down, finally started to point up. All right, so quite okay. I mean, at least some signs of the short-term trend going up. It's not like down for the past 5 months, right? Starting to go up. Plus, we got a bullish signal. So still okay. The only thing I'm not so happy about, I mean, I'm not so bullish on this stock, as I say, right, would be that the 2 longer-term moving averages, the red and blue, they're both pointing down. So, short term is up, right? But I'm not too sure whether, it might just go up and up a bit, and then sellers might come back, and we could start to see even more selling as the longer term trend takes over again. Does it make sense? All right. So that's the only thing I'm not too bullish about this stock. But having said that, I would say that the short-term trend, at least we have seen a bit of a reversal. We got a bullish signal. The green line points up. I think we can wait for a bit more confirmation. If we can break above the 120 as another confirmation, good. Maybe that will be another sign of a better reversal up, maybe all the way to 150 level. All right, and that's where probably you can think about selling. I mean, depends. If you see like a bearish signal coming out again by then you could sell. But if not, if it continue right up and out, you see bullish coming out, great. We may start to see more upside, but I'm not too sure whether that will happen because, as I say, the longer term trend is still down for now. All right, Chester, so I hope that helps. All right, okay, so let's go ahead to cover the next US stock. So let's just go through one more round. I think it's about 12 p.m. right now. We'll just go through one more round. I'll pass the mic back to Bervin to cover the next US stock, and then maybe after that we can move on to the three bonus stock that each of us like, and we'll share at the end. All right, so Bervin, back to you.
Thank you, Joey. Okay, I think the next one is another counter that we can look at. I think KS is asking about CrowdStrike, CRWD. Okay, so let me just throw my screen up again. Okay, here we have CrowdStrike. I mean, looking a bit better than AMD for sure. I mean, what we have here would be that the 100 days and 200 days moving average have just crossed each other in early of January, and right now we are back to having this 100 days and 200 days moving average in an uptrend or starting to point up. So that is a good sign. But on the flip side, we see that 20 days moving average is pointing down, not doing so well. A little bit of weakness coming in the near term. Although we just saw that prices have rebounded from this key $300 psychological level. I mean, that's a good sign. That's a good a positive signal that there are bargain hunters that are back when the prices approach that $300 level. But we also see that there's a little bit of resistance, I would say, right around that to 390 to that $400 level. There is a bit of resistance that came in. I mean, even the last 2 days, we actually see prices actually touched that 400 or came close to that 400 level, and sellers actually came back in the intraday to actually sell down again. So in the last 2 days, you have sold down a little bit, just a little bit from that $400 level. But I think if you are looking to actually buy this stock, I think you want to wait. I think you should wait for another or a signal or a confirmation where that 200 days or that 20 days moving average, behaves a little bit like the one in early February where it was previously, or when it starts to slope back up. So if I were to just take this and put it like this, maybe that is when you see that 20 days moving average starting to rebound from that 100 days moving average, heading close to that 400 level to test it again. And perhaps if prices also break that 400 level, we could see the upside back to that 460 level. But as of right now, I wouldn't say it's a good time to rush in. You want to, perhaps wait for a buy zone that is maybe a little bit higher first, a little bit higher above that 390 level. Maybe a new support could be formed. So if I were to turn on my buy and sell signals and trailing support and resistance, you could see that trailing support resistance is right around that horizontal resistance that I've drawn, close to that 400 level. So I think when this level is broken, you could see this 1GT signal actually come in, giving you a little bit more conviction, and I think you'll be a much better position to ride that upside with all three moving averages also pointing up. So I think that's a very, very quick one for CrowdStrike. Can I pass the time back to Z to cover the last stock request?
Okay, thanks, Bervin. Okay, so the last stock for today, right, that I'll be covering, let me just find the comment now. Where is it? Okay, it's by Batguan, right? How about VOO? Okay, so let's take a look at VOO. Okay, so just FYI, VOO is an ETF. So just wanted to share with you guys once again that the 1GT Pro indicator is not just purely for stocks, right? It can also be used for ETF as well. And especially for VOO, this ETF, it actually tracks the S&P 500, which Joey earlier did an analysis on as well, right? So for VOO, this uptrend definitely still looks intact, right? But like what Joey has actually mentioned earlier on is that right now we actually do see some short-term weakness, especially with all the tariffs ongoing, with Trump's administration, since the start of the year, right? After February, this is where we actually saw some market volatility returning, right? And in terms of VOO right now, right, if I actually turn on the 1GT Pro indicator and the signal, we actually do see 1GT bearish signal right over here, which actually coincides with what Joey did an analysis on, right, which is whereby, there is indeed some short-term weakness returning, but it doesn't mean that the stock will crash, right? It just means that there's some short-term weakness returning. And at this point in time, we can see that, somewhere near this $500, right? This $500 could be a psychological support, right? And we can see that, over the past month or so, prices actually came back down near this 500, and this is where we actually, over the past 2 to 3 weeks, we actually saw price actually rebounded back up, and yesterday it closed at about 521. And in terms of resistance wise, definitely we do see some selling pressure and resistance coming back in at about this 560 level right over here, right, which has been tested at least a couple of times, right? Here prices neared it, prices actually touched it, neared it again, and then this is where selling pressure came back in. So in terms of VOO, to buy or to sell, I think, but Guan, it also really depends on whether are you holding this for long term, or are you really thinking of, just, getting in and out of a position, right? Because we also do have clients whereby they buy ETFs such as this S&P 500, right? SPY, right? Things like that. Like over time, right, to accumulate and acting as kind of like their savings plan, right? Every month, maybe they could buy into some of this. Every few months, they could buy into some of this, right? And to keep accumulating on the dips. So maybe you have to ask yourself as to whether are you actually looking to buy into this for long term, or are you just looking to buy into this for kind of like a swing position trade, right? So if you're looking to buy into this long term, definitely you want to accumulate on the dips, right? And if accumulating on the dips, where would that be? That would also be near a support zone, right? So near the support zone right over here, this could where you could be accumulating on the dips as well, right? But I mean, of course, I'm not too sure if prices will actually, the next few days will actually reverse back for you to buy. But this is where you can actually set some price alert. So just another thing that I wanted to share with you, right, is that apart from setting price alert, let me just clear this, okay? So apart from setting price alert, the other thing whereby what you can do is to set a 1GT bullish alert, right? Because like we see, definitely there will be selling pressure, 1GT bearish signal coming back into the market during short-term weakness. But once price have actually broken and crossed above the trailing resistance, this is where we will get a 1GT bullish signal, and this is where you want to be alerted as well, right? So the thing is, you can also right click to actually set a 1GT buy alert, right? A buy alert. But maybe if you want to set a buy or sell alert, that's also fine, right? You can set a buy or sell alert, and you can just put a VOO, right, and create. So once I've done this, it will actually alert me whenever there is another 1GT bullish or bearish signal coming out for this particular counter. And that's where, once you're alerted, you can actually go back into this stock to take a look and see whether has price really reached a support level for you to potentially accumulate on the dips. Or if you already gotten into some position, maybe somewhere near the 560, that's where you can also consider to take some partial profits, right? So that would be a very, very quick one for VOO. That will be all for me, and I'll pass the time back over to Joey to actually start sharing each of our bonus stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Let me go to share my screen. All right, so we have covered a total of like 14 stocks already. I think maybe, right, maybe just before I move on to the bonus stock, let me just cover one more stock. I think very simple. I think we have some of you are asking like the same stocks, like Alfred, you're asking about Palantir. Palantir, we have covered already. Alfred, you can watch the replay. Same thing, we have maybe Baba as well. They asked again. Baba was covered as well. Alibaba, BAPA, that was stock number 6. All right, so for those stocks we've covered, guys, we'll not be covering again. Let me see if I can cover one more. So I think we have this stock called Trade Desk, right? ET, you're asking about this stock called Trade Desk, TTD. So I'll just do one very quickly just to make the number 15. All right, so we'll cover 15 stocks in total today. Before, just give me about a few more minutes and then we'll share with you the top bonus stocks, starting with me, and then I'll pass the mic to Bervin. All right, so very simple. This is Trade Desk. So I think very quickly, you can see that what Z have shared a bit how this 1GT Pro indicator, you can turn on the buy and sell signals, bullish and bearish signals. You can set alerts on it so that when any bullish or bearish signals comes out, right, you can be alerted, right? And maybe you see a bearish signal, you could get out, all right, rather than hold it all the way down. Like for example, Trade Desk, ET, you're asking about Trade Desk. So you're looking to get in right now? I mean, probably is it a good time to buy, right? So what happens is that we actually had not one, but we have two bearish signals. So we've got a couple of good bullish signals. That was in like August, September, not too bad, up all the way, but a bearish signal came out, another bearish signal came out. In between, you got two bullish signals. But after the most recent bearish signal in December, down we go. Look at the green 20 days moving average line, down, 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 down even more, right? And we got another bearish signal. So not good, right? So of course, if you can set an alert for this, as I say, it's very simple, right? Set an alert, one good trend pro, buy or sell alert, once per bar, create, done. All right, that is where the alert will be set. If a bearish signal comes out, you'll be alerted to get out. So back to your questions, ET, right? Is it a good time to buy right now? Probably not. All right. Why should we buy? I mean, first of all, is there a bullish signal coming out? No. All right. Is the short-term trend down? Yes, it's still down. Is the longer-term trend maybe starting to turn down? Yes. All right. So a lot of things are pointing down for now. So we don't want to buy stocks that is looking more bearish than bullish. Does it make sense? All right. Only when we see a bullish signal coming out, and as I say, right, we can set an alert. I don't have to every day stare at this stock and see when it comes out. No, I don't have to do that, right? I can set an alert such that when the bullish signal comes out, so like for ET, if you have access to this indicator, then when you see a bullish signal coming out, then you can think about buying. But doesn't mean just anyhow buy, but at least you get a confirmation whereby you could start to focus on other things like the 20 days moving average, a short-term trend, build a plan, look at the trailing support and all the things that we talk about, to think about getting in. But right now, probably not, because there's no bullish signal. Everything seems to be pointing down. All right. So that's how having an indicator like this one good trend pro indicator can help you not just to get in, but also to get out when the time comes, like when it just looks much weaker. All right. And I want to share with you guys this as well, guys. I'll just get my team to put it in the chat, but we have pretty much this free trial to the 1GT light indicator. So we have a 14 days free trial to it. All right, let me just put this link in the chat. All right, and what happens is once you click on the link, you will come to this page right over here. All right, most incredible free gift ever in the stock market. Right, I wanted to test drive my one good trend light indicator for free. So we are using the pro indicator all this while, right? The pro indicator pretty much has more advanced features. You can turn on the trailing support, horizontal support, and some other more advanced stuff. Attend a free webinar to learn more about it. But if you want to just get the or test drive the 1GT light indicator for free, all right? And this light indicator pretty much just allows you to turn on and off the buy and sell signals, the bullish and bearish signals. That's it, right? You can't turn on other stuff. It's just the buy and sell signals, which some of you might like as well. You can set an alert as well, all right? Test drive the 1GT light indicator, and for doing that, you get over $3,997 worth of pure money making information for free. All right, just for saying maybe, just to for giving you a trial, for testing it, just for saying maybe this is what I want to give you with, right? So that's the link in the chat. All right, you can come to this page, check it out, test drive my 1GT light indicator, which allows you to get an opinion on any asset classes, any stocks in seconds based on the bullish and bearish signals. All right. Okay. So very good, guys. We have pretty much come to the last part of today's Ask Me Any US stock session. So now we are going to share with you guys the top stock that is still in our watch list that you could put in your watch list as well. How many of you want that? Just type T for top, guys. If you want us to share with you guys the top stocks, right? The top bonus stocks that you want to put in your watch list, just type T for top. Let me know. Let's see. All right, let's see over here. Okay, we have Colleen top. Yeah, please. Wilson top. All right, very good. So some of you have been really waiting for this moment all the while. Thanks, Eric, Sherry, Bart, Guan, TTT. Okay, so let's go to share with you guys the first top stock I would like to put in your watch list. I mean, you can put in your watch list, and that would be this stock right over here, which I think I've covered over the past, or maybe my team have covered, Bavin have covered in the past few AMA session, right? That would be what we call BRK.B, all right? Berkshire Hathaway, right? Right over here. This is the stock, right? Very bullish stock. It's been in my watch list a while. We have some positions in it. In fact, it has been one of the most defensive stock over the past 1-2 months when everything was selling down, going lower, tariffs and all the stuff, right? Market was coming down. But in fact, this stock, Berkshire Hathaway, right, has been defending pretty well, not just defending, but pushing higher, attempting to go even higher as well. And you see that the longer term trend is out. Look at this red line going up, blue 100, 200 days moving average line going up as well, red above the blue. So longer term trend is up. Well, along the way, we had some bearish signals. Look at this, right? We got some bearish signals. This means a bit of selling, went sideways a bit, went down a bit. But over the past 2 months, when everything was coming down, right, we did not have bearish signals, right? In fact, we have 2 bullish signals coming out. Look at this, right? 2 bullish signals coming out. And the green 20 days moving average line was going down, 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 started to point up, 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 up. Is it still pointing up? Yes, it's still pointing up. Will it go higher? No idea, but it seems like it's still going up right now. Does it make sense? All right, so I think it looks quite okay, Berkshire Hathaway. All right, and if I can quickly turn on what we call the trailing support. So we have been talking about this trailing support for quite a while now, all right, whereby, it gives the stock space to hopefully move higher, all right? But we don't want to give like too little space or like, follow so tightly such that it goes down a bit and you get out, right? No, we want to give it enough space. We want to give it the allowance it needs, all right, to breathe, to move up and down, to consolidate, and hopefully move higher, and then we follow it even higher. That's what exactly the trailing support does. Look at this, flat up, flat up. You can see it's starting to move up, so now we are starting to follow it up, right? But as it follows up, you can see that there is space. There is space. Look at this, right? There's some space. Of course, now it goes up. There's even more space. It accounts for the volatility, right? So it's a very powerful feature of the One Good Trend Pro indicator. All right, we are above the trailing support. The 20 days green line is pointing up. The red and blue, that one has been up since 2 years back. Easy to see. All right, so everything looks pretty good. I think resistance-wise, I can draw it for you. Maybe somewhere around the 540 to 550 level. We can break those levels good. We can even see more upside, right? May even see more upside all the way maybe to 600 to 580. That could be our revised target. So this is Berkshire Hathaway. And what you can do is that, we could use this trailing support as a guide, right? So you can try to time your entry near like the 520. I think 520 maybe a bit of a horizontal support, right? 520 would be where some bargain hunting is coming. Look at it, right? Over the past 1-2 weeks, buyers are starting to come back, rebound, all right, started to push up already. So 520 would be a horizontal support level. The trailing support is a bit lower. Why lower? Because you give it space lah. Does it make sense? All right, give it space, so it's a bit lower lah. But best if you can get in near the trailing support, right? I mean, I'm not too sure whether it will dip here for you to buy and then go up lah, right? But if you can go there, great. But if not, then we might need to enter slightly higher near a horizontal support, maybe near the 520 to 510 level, right? But I think anything above that 500 or 520, it looks bullish still, all right? I think targets could be revised to 580 to 600 if the 540 resistance gives way, all right? So that's my first bonus stock I share with you, and that with Berkshire Hathaway. The code is BRK.B, all right? So let me pass on the mic to Bervin, all right, for him to cover his, all right, top bonus stock that he shared with you, all right? Go ahead, Bervin.
Thanks, Joey. Okay, so another of the stock that actually continue to be on my watch list, I think recently have rebounded as well, would be for those of you who have been following us, I think you are very familiar that I really like this stock. I have been talking about this stock week on week. Is Visa. The stock code, I mean, it's V. Okay, so why do I like this stock? Why do I like this stock? Firstly, I think the trend here obviously shows a very good, a very healthy uptrend. Why previously the prices were kept under this 280 resistance, right around there, about the 270 to 280 level, it has been kept under it. And then it finally broke above that 280 level, headed to that 300 level. So all these have now turned to what we call like a support already on these key levels. Just change this color. All right. So prices have held above these key levels as of now. And I think as of sometime in January this year, we had finally broken above that 320 level. And then we have tested it once, twice, 3 times over a 1 week period. Finally, we were able to break above it in the late of January. Then we headed to that 360 level. We headed to that 360 level before sellers actually came back in, pushed prices back down towards that, close to that 320 level, close to that 100 days moving average at that point of time, and we have rebounded. So although that 20 days moving average, I would say, still looks a little bit weaker, but it has started to show signs of flattening out, although it's still pointing down now. But of course, the gradient is not as steep as it was earlier this month. It started to flatten out. And I think we are heading back towards very clearly towards that selling area or that selling zone close to that 360 level, where we could see some sellers come back. But if the trend continues, or if history repeats itself, we may see a little bit of consolidation between the 320 to 360 range before we finally break above the 360. And I would say that upside would be cleared all the way to that 400 level. So this is done by a simple projection here, right here. You can see that, yep, this could be the next upside, or the upside could be towards this level, this 400 level once again. So if I were to turn on that buy and sell signals, you still very, very clearly see that there is one GT bearish signal that is still present here. But what I'm actually looking out for would be that trailing resistance. You can see that prices have been going closer and closer to that trailing resistance. You see that trailing resistance already very flat around that 355 level. If we were to break above this 300 and this trailing resistance around the 355 level, that's when that 1 GT bullish signal will appear. Then that 360 level will form as a new base, a new support to push prices higher towards that 400 level. So if you are looking at it this way, with higher inflation or more tariffs, payment processing companies like Visa tend to do a little bit better because of the higher volume as well. So I will still remain very, very, very bullish about this Visa. But as of now, is it time to buy yet? I think not just yet. I think to rush in to buy. I think I want to wait for that trailing resistance to be broken and that new 1 GT bullish signals to appear, that 20 days moving average to point up. But I think all factors point in that way, that it should, or it could potentially hit there over the next few days, few weeks. Yeah, but at least we are in the correct direction as of now. All right, so Visa will continue to be on my watch list. So Z, can I pass the time to you to cover your bonus stock?
All right, thank you, Bavin. Okay, so let me just share my screen quickly. And the bonus stock that I would like to share with you guys today is called Well Tower. So maybe Well Tower is not really well known among many people, but let me just give you a very quick summary, right, of what Well Tower is. Okay, so Well Tower, if we take a look at right over here, in short, Well Tower is a healthcare REIT, okay, and it focuses basically on senior housing, medical office buildings and skilled nurse facilities. So just think about REITs, but in healthcare. Okay, so basically that is what Well Tower is actually about, right? And if we take a look at the chart, right, for the past year, Well Tower has been performing relatively well, right? I would say, in fact, it's very good, because if you take a look at the start of the year, February, that's where we got our first 1 GT bullish signal. Then we get a second 1 GT bullish signal, and subsequently a third, right? So from the very first signal that actually came out to where the bearish signal came out somewhere in December for one entire year, right? That's close to, sorry, let me just draw it again. That's close to about almost 50%, right? A 50% rise in price, right? For 1 year, that's a pretty decent profit, right? If you were to enter somewhere at the start of the year, all the way to the end of the year, that's fantastic, right? And then this is where, we started somewhere at the end of the year, right? Towards the start of January, that's where we actually start to see some weakness returning, right? We see a 1 GT bearish signal coming out. This is also where the short-term moving average starts to point down as well, right? But from this, what can we tell? We can tell that there is actually a support. Where the support is at, it's somewhere near this 120 level, right over here, right? Because this is where prices actually broke above somewhere in September, went up, selling pressure came back in, we tested this level, neared it right over here one time, again, second time right over here in October, right? Before pushing up all the way to 140, where we actually saw a 1 GT bearish signal coming out. Then selling pressure came back in, retest this level, neared it once more, right? Before we actually see a 1 GT bullish signal right over here on the 21st of January. So I would say 120 definitely will be one of the support level and price alert that maybe perhaps you might want to set as well, right? If prices were to actually retrace back to that level. But let's take a look further, right? And prices subsequently, after the 1 GT bullish signal came out, it rallied all the way up right, all the way up to this level right over here, which is 160, which I've already drawn my resistance right over here, right over here. And at this point in time, do we see a 1 GT bearish signal? No, not yet, right? We still see a 1 GT bullish signal. And from the 1 GT bullish signal to where we are at, this is about 18% rise in price, right? So in terms of, let me just clear all of this so that it's easier for you guys to see, okay? And then I will also turn on the trailing support to actually have a look as well, right? So let me just turn this on right over here and clear the joints. Okay, so right over here, what can we see? We can see that price is actually trading above the trailing support, right? That's one good thing because it actually aligns with the trend analysis that we are talking about. Longer term trend, definitely still intact. Red and the blue still going up. But what about the short term trend, right? Short term trend, what we are witnessing now is that it is actually going sideways, right, for the past couple of weeks. But it has been going sideways and it is still holding above the trailing support. So that is actually a good thing, right? So potentially, where can you position yourself for entry? That will be exactly near this support buy zone right over here, right? This right over here. But again, right, like I've always mentioned, you can enter very easily, you can buy the stock very easily, but always have a trading plan in place, right? So like what we've mentioned earlier on, one way to actually really utilize and use this 1 GT Pro indicator effectively and efficiently is to use this trading support function, right? And this is where you can actually use it to guide you to place your stop loss order. That is where you can actually protect your downside, right? So where can you potentially place your stop loss order? You can actually place it slightly below this trading support. Perhaps you want to place it a bit more further, like this, to actually account for more breathing room space, right? To give the stock more room to actually breathe, right? Let me just change this to red right over here. So then this right over here could be your stop loss plan, right? This could be your stop loss plan after you have established your buy zone, right? And in terms of just now the resistance, we mentioned that where is it, right? It is near this 160 level right over here, right? So this is the resistance. And when we want to take some profits, where do we want to take profits at? We want to take profit near a resistance level, right? So it could be a resistance zone right over here. Perhaps you can consider to take full profits. That's no problem, right? You want to take full profits near the resistance, totally no issue. Perhaps you can also consider to take some partial profits as well, right? To take some partial profits, to then you continue to ride the uptrend if prices can break and hold above this 160, especially now that we see that both the longer term trend, red and the blue line, is actually still heading up. All right. So yeah, I hope that helps. I hope you guys have a better insight into this Well Tower stock that I've already added into my watch list, right? And this is one stock that I'm definitely monitoring as well. Yeah, so that would be all from me. I'll pass the time back to Joey to actually wrap up today's session.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Very good stock, right? Well Tower, I've been watching it for a few months as well. Thanks for refreshing my memory on this stock as well. All right, you definitely want to put this stock in your watch list, guys. Well Tower, Berlin covered Visa, I covered Berkshire Hathaway right over here. All right, this is what I talk about. So you can see that all these stocks that we talk about, it's not going down every other day. It's not in the downtrend in the long term, right? Longer term trend will be up. Of course, in the short term, maybe a bit of weakness, but if we do see some bullish signals like what you see over here for Berkshire Hathaway, not too bad. We could see more upside. Yeah, it might have gone up a bit already. You might say, yeah, you should have told me earlier, right? But yeah, I mean, the thing is that there could still be more legs to the rally, all right? So you could still think about positioning yourself in it. But like what Z say, have a plan, or have a plan. Look at things like the reward to risk ratio. We don't have time to cover everything on that, but as I say, guys, one more time, if you want to find out a little bit more into how perhaps you could have an indicator like this, whereby, you know, we kind of like use it to analyze the stock that you guys are asking about and also the bonus stocks. If you want to have an indicator like this, right, where you could simply just off the signals, turn it on in seconds, get an opinion on any asset classes, any stocks, attend one of those free webinars, right? The link is in the chat for the final time. That's where I'll do a bit more. I'll have more time to share with you the entire one good trend strategy. All right, so that is it right up here. You can see this on it, off it, and there we go. So there are a lot of other features as well, such as risk management, about the volume and all the stuff. We can turn on everything. So do check it out, attend our free webinars. And that is where I think you will find even more helpful. You get a better understanding, all right, of how to use the 1GT Pro indicator, maybe even have access to it as well, all right, and the entire strategy, all right? Okay, very good. So I think we have come to the end. We have come to the end of the AMAS Ask Me Any Stock session, guys. If you miss any of the stocks, so I'll just go through very, very quickly, right? Very quickly, all the stocks we covered: the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, Tesla, Palantir, Broadcom, Nvidia, Meta, Taiwan Semiconductor, Alibaba, Google, sorry, not Google, Alphabet, right? Code is GOOGL, Intuitive Surgical, Walmart, Apple, Quest Diagnostics, AMD, CRWD, CrowdStrike. We have a VOO, that's an ETF that tracks the S&P 500 index. Trade Desk, the code is TDD, which I just covered as well. All right, so yeah, I think we've pretty much come to the end of this AMA session. And just to share with you guys, I mean, today we are covering the US market, right? The US market, and next Friday we'll be looking at the Singapore market. So just want to share with you guys one thing that, you know, if you are currently trading right now, all right, you have a trading account. I mean, you need a trading account to buy and sell stocks, right? So to share with you guys that as a broker, all of us are all top brokers in Philip Securities, all right? And that's where if you are if you're trading currently, you have a trading account and you're not getting much service from your broker, all right? You don't get any ideas or videos, nobody WhatsApp you daily, training, nobody call you, nobody bother about you or what. Check out how you can become a VIP client of mine in Philip Securities for free. Why do you want to do that? Well, essentially, you get some of our top ideas daily by WhatsApp for free. Yes, for free, right? At no additional cost. Is pretty much the same as whatever you pay when you're trading, right? But we do provide some value-added services, some personalized service as well, contactable by WhatsApp, and you get the trainings much faster, and of course our top ideas as well, right? Daily by WhatsApp. So check it out. The link is in the chat, right? The link's in the chat. And that's where we look forward to add more value to you as well. All right. So Joey here. Thank you so much for joining us in today's AMA sessions, right? Thank you so much. I think we have come to the end of the session today. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. We look forward to see you in the next live session. So maybe just put the link to the next Friday live session in the chat as well, so we can go ahead to to save it, so you can join us next Friday. Right, next Friday. Let's place the link in the chat one more time. All right, so we have one next Friday, and next Friday we'll be looking at the Singapore market. So today US, next Friday will be Singapore. So look forward to see you there. Hit the subscribe button, follow as well. When we go live, you will be alerted as well. So Joey here. Thank you so much. Bye everyone. Signing off. We'll see you next Friday. Hope you found value. Take care. Let me just go to acknowledge all of you, right? We have right over here, AACL. Just type V for value, guys. You've got value, or maybe you have covered your stocks, or you found some value, right? Colleen, Bakguan, thank you as well. Colleen, thanks for joining us today as well. Man Yin, thank you all. Thank you so much. All right, so very good, guys. We'll see you next Friday. Take care. Bye-bye. Value, awesome. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.